lived experience is like having a PhD in life. And and it's true. Lived experience is something that cannot be replicated within a classroom. So just really making sure that young people realize that the things that they experience has power, it holds weight, and that they deserve to be heard.
Welcome to the Generation Youth Podcast. I'm your host, James McLamb, and today we're going to talk about a topic that really is on the front of a lot of people's minds who deal with youth, and that's mental health. And I'm privileged to have a new friend with me, AmandaGrace Krier. How are you doing, AmandaGrace?
I'm doing pretty well. It was a very nice warm day where I'm here in Pennsylvania, so can't complain. Love warm days.
I do as well. I love warm days as well. We're having kind of mild weather when we're recording this, kind of mid-spring here in North Carolina. Well, AmandaGrace, our audience loves to hear from my guests about themselves. They don't want James to be talking the whole time, so they'd rather hear from you about you. So if you wouldn't mind, take a couple of minutes and introduce yourself to the Generation Youth audience.
Yeah, sure. Well, hello. My name is AmandaGrace Krier. Feel free to call me AG because sometimes AmandaGrace is a mouthful for some people. I am a dog mom. I am a lover of sushi and fried pickles. I am a retired Irish dancer and I teach Irish dance. But I also am a suicide loss survivor. I'm a person who lives with mental illness. And I have the privilege of working every day as a mental health professional and working in the youth and young adult space at a social justice advocacy organization where I get to impact lives of youth across the country. And that's just
I
a little bit
love
of me.
I love that you talked about what your passion and what drives you to work with mental health. Tell our audience how you got into this and what you're doing with that before we dive into maybe some of the issues that are facing it here.
Yeah, the way I describe my life to people is that if you would have told me at 15 years old, this is like what I was going to be doing with the rest of my life, I never would have believed you because this was not supposed to be my story. This was not supposed to be my family's life. But in September of 2017, I got the call that my cousin Sean had died by suicide, and that wrecked us. That wrecked my world. I didn't know that there was a place lower than rock bottom, but there is, and my family found it. But through my grief, I really started to feel this need to do something, that I couldn't just sit here anymore and let my grief consume me. And so the more I began to tell my cousin's story, the more I realized that I also have a story, that I also have my own personal struggles with mental illness that I was not at the time willing to face. So as I became volunteering and doing a lot of advocacy work in my community, I just kind of fell in love with it and specifically fell in love with working with youth and young adults. And the more that I did, the more I realized I want to do this all the time, that I love this. So then I overnight, I changed my major. I was an American Sign Language major, and I said to my mom, I changed my major to behavioral health. And she was like, wait, maybe we should think about this. And I was like, nope, this is what I'm doing. And I've never looked back.
Wow. I love that the passion has driven you to rethink the future and what your calling is in life and your past experiences have done that. You know, mental health, youth mental health is really on the forefront. A lot of books that are coming out now. The Anxious Generation was just released, which talks about social media's impact on mental health. From your professional, and I'm going to refer to you as a professional because I think based on the experiences you have, you're probably one of the most experienced and expert people that we've had on the show in quite a while. What do you think are some of the issues that are driving the mental health crisis in youth today? Because I think we got some parents that are listening, maybe some teachers that are listening, maybe even some young people are listening. They hear it. They hear it on the news. They hear it on media. There's something, and they're like, what's going on here? Why is this happening? Especially some of the older parents are going like, hey, my generation was fine or perceived to be fine. What's happening now?
I think there's like a long-winded answer for it. I think that today, in the light of the world being more connected than it's ever been, we've never been quite so lonely. That a lot of youth and young adults that I have the privilege to work with in the past, that one of their biggest things that they have said is feelings of loneliness and isolation, which a lot of people like they're like, what do you mean? Like, you can pick up the phone and you can FaceTime somebody and like you can talk to people across the world now and you're lonely. But they are. That there's this lonely and isolation feeling that a lot of youth are feeling, but also that it's not necessarily that past generations haven't had similar struggles to the youth of today. It's just that I think that the youth today are a lot more open about talking about it. That this generation of youth that are emerging are the most self-aware individuals that I have ever met in my entire life. And like even with talking, to my mom comparative to talking to one of my little brothers is that my mom said, "When we were depressed, you got a job. Like you went to work. You kept moving forward." And today, when youth realize that they're not okay, they're saying that. So I think that it's not necessarily that this is something new, but I think it's something that is being addressed more.
Wow, that's good insight into the situation. They're more open to say it. And I agree with you 100% on the loneliness and isolation. I think it was Dr. Tim Elmore from Growing Leaders that coined a phrase that was very close to what you just said. He said that, the generation of today is the most connected generation in all of history, but they're also the loneliest. So there's a lot to that. So I don't think some people are going to understand that. How can you be lonely when you have the ability to FaceTime someone on the other side of the planet at a moment's notice? Why are they so lonely? What do you think?
I'm not entirely sure. And I'm a person who I specifically working for a youth advocacy organization. I think the best way to ask these questions is to ask youth directly. That I'm a big advocate of nothing about us without us. And I think that that is a question that even a lot of youth are also asking themselves because I don't think that they necessarily know. I do think that social media has a card in it, and how I, in my personal lived experience, describe it is that I was somebody who I remember pre social media. And of course, now we have social media now. And comparative to someone who is younger than me, who has had their entire life on social media, I am able to differentiate the difference between what is real, what I'm seeing, and what is not real. That I understand, and I think it also comes with the fact that I'm 25, so I'm a little bit older, but that I'm able to look at social media and see all of these happy posts that everybody is posting, and I know that they're just posting their highlight reel, like they're not gonna post their darkest moments on social media. Some people do. I do because I think it's important to shed light on those things, but like they're going to post of course like the happy pictures of them at a baseball game and with their significant other, but they're not going to share the fact that they just cried into their mac and cheese yesterday. And I think that that is something that for people who are not like me, who have grown up with social media their entire life, it's a little bit harder to differentiate between what is real and what is not.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And what I'm hearing you say is that youth today are looking at posts and they don't are not understanding that what they're seeing is someone's best day or someone's edited best day, and they're comparing that to their worst day. And I can't live up to that. Where maybe my generation, we had to go to a store and see a magazine and pull it off the shelf and see curated pictures there. And we kind of knew those were created to be that good looking, but now you see that happen. So I almost think, when you were saying about it, it's not real. I wonder if that's one of the reasons why the app, Be Real, is it Be Real?
Be
The
real.
new app? Yeah, if that's why that is becoming a little bit more popular because it doesn't give you time to.
No, and it's completely, like, raw photos too, that, like, I'm somebody and I'm completely honest with anybody I meet, anybody I talk to about it, like, if you look at my social media, I can tell you that I have whitened my teeth on an app in every photo. that I'm completely like, I don't care. I've done it. But be real, you can't do that. It's raw photos right in the moment. But I agree. I think that might be a reason why.
For those of you who are listening or watching that are not familiar with Be Real, because it's not a mainstream, one of the forefront. My understanding, because I'm not on it, but my understanding is you get a notification once you sign up for the app. You get a notification, and you have 2 minutes
I
if you
think
choose to
it's
respond.
Yeah, I think it's 2 to 3 minutes, and it takes a photo. So here, I have my phone right here. So it takes a photo of you, but it also takes a photo of whatever is behind you as well, and has it like a little off to the side, so you can see the front and back of the camera. So some people, when they're taking their B reels, if they're like in a hike or something, you can see them like posing, but then you can see like the trees in the back or like a really beautiful skyline. But that is essentially what Be Real is.
And if I understand this correctly, if you decide to post, that is your one post for today. You
Mhm.
don't get another opportunity. Now if you choose not to, you may get a notification later in the day to do it again. But once you've clicked on it, you're on. Is that correct? Am I right on that?
I'm not sure about that. That might be. I had Be Real on my phone. I don't have it on my phone anymore. But when I had it on my phone, it was just that one moment. But I don't know, they might have edited it so it
Yeah,
can.
I'm not sure with all the logistics of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just sharing what little bit I know about, and I think part of the reason why something like that has happened, why that app has evolved and was created, was just what you talked about. People,
Yeah.
the creators of it wanted folks to be their authentic self and not to compare themselves to these edited things, and maybe it helps a little bit more. And you can only see the people that you're friends with, so you don't get
Yeah.
you don't get an algorithm that sends you somebody that you may not want to know and all that kind of stuff. So that's all right. Get back in the mental health thing that is going on here as we're being real. I think some folks are going to be concerned about their young people that they're working with. Maybe their children, maybe there's somebody as a teacher working with youth or something in a youth group in a church setting or some faith setting. What are some signs that they can look for that are kind of, hey, this young person may need some help? What can they be looking for here? Because I know that I'm concerned and I want to know what to be looking for. I don't want to perceive the wrong things, and I want to know.
I think that so there is no one size fits all when it comes to warning signs for suicide or warning signs for necessarily like a specific mental health condition, that it looks differently for everybody. But what I can say is that if somebody that you know is acting out of their norm of however like they normally act, that like if there's somebody who is normally an isolated person, that they're very like quiet and they keep to themselves, and all of a sudden like flip of a switch they are extremely animated and they're outgoing, that might be a warning sign that not a lot of people know to look for when it comes to suicide. That I know that is there's a term for that now that's called pink clouding. And it's normally when somebody
Pink clouding.
pink clouding, and that's normally when somebody has come to terms that with the plan that they're going to attempt on ending their life, and they are now in this pink cloud. And so that's a warning sign that not a lot of people know to look for. But when it comes to just mental health and mental illness across the board, I think that if somebody is acting outside of their norm for longer than 2 weeks, then that is something that they might want to talk to a mental health clinician.
So if we're seeing, what I'm hearing is, if we're seeing someone that we're close to and there's something different,
Yeah.
they're introvert normally, now they're a gregarious person, or vice versa. They're gregarious, which is probably what most people think, you know. And the other one, they're probably thinking, oh, they're finally coming out of their shell, and they're not thinking that could be out of character. That's very insightful. That's pretty profound. So at the 15-minute mark in this podcast, we all need to rewind this thing and go back, because that's some truth bombs there that I really hadn't thought about. It's just really acting outside of your norms. I really love that, AJ. That that you stress that it's differently for everyone and it's outside their norm. So we see that and we get kind of red flags. The hair on the back of our neck stands up. We're getting kind of some kind of feeling here. What do we do? What's step one? What would you recommend for us to do? I guess there's not really a set plan, but what would you recommend?
There can be a set plan.
Ooh.
If but, I think that if you're approaching somebody with a concern, I think the best way to do it is to sandwich it. That it's, "Hey, I just wanna let you know that I really care about you, and you're a really important person to me. But I've noticed these things," and you want to list the specific things that you've noticed. Like, I've noticed that you're withdrawing yourself from classes. I've noticed that you are giving some of your things away. And I just want to know, like, if you're doing okay because I really care about you. So that's the sandwich that you want to put it, because it's a little bit more easier to swallow when it's, I care about you. These are the things I'm noticing. Are you okay? Because I care about you. So that is how I would attempt to approach the situation. And I think that if it's something specific like suicide, if you're not aware, there's a great suicide prevention community training that you can take. It's called QPR, called Question. Question, Persuade, Refer. And it teaches everyday people the tools necessary that if someone in your life you suspect might be experiencing suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, might be planning to attempt suicide, that is a community-based, evidence-based training that anybody can utilize, and you don't have to be a mental health professional in order to save a life.
Ooh, QPR. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. We need to get that information in the show notes.
Yeah.
How to connect that. So we need to do that because that's question, persuade, refer.
Yes.
And I love your sandwich. So that really was powerful to be able to sandwich the hard fact in the middle of the meat of it with the affection, the caring, the showing them that we want to connect with them on those ways before
Mhm.
we approach that, because I could even see myself taking the bread off of that sandwich and just going for the meat. Just
Yeah.
going, hey, I've noticed these things about you, and diving right in this, and walls and flags coming up. So I love that. Um, I love that. When you and I talked earlier, one of the things you talked about was you wanted to help make others feel a little less alone, and that's such a powerful statement to me, especially in light of what we've already talked about. There's such an isolated, lonely generation. How can we do that? How can we reach out to others and make ourselves more of a community where we seem to be in silos so often,
Mhm.
and we don't seem to be connecting? What would you recommend that we do? How can we approach this?
I would recommend authenticity within yourself, that being honest about how you feel, being honest with your emotions. And I think that an easy first step that anybody can take is that the next time somebody asks you, how are you? Answer it honestly. Because we all do the same thing, like, how are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? We do the same exchange. But next time somebody asks you, how are you? Answer it honestly. I'm not doing so great. I had a rough morning, but I'm doing better. Just or say, actually, I'm having a pretty awful day. Not really having the best day. And just little things like that, by showing other people that you are being real with your emotions, that you not only show them that they can too, but you're also showing them that you're a safe person, that if they're not doing okay, that they can come to you and talk to you about it.
Wow. Irony of what you just said, or the coincidence of what you just said, this past Sunday at church, the class that I was a part of, the guy who was leading the class said almost those exact same words. And he was actually sharing that he had had a rough night the night before, a rough day, and the family was not doing well. And as he was getting coffee that morning, person walked up to him who he didn't know and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" He said, not just literally said, "Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?" And he walked away and said, "Well, that's not even close to being true." And we debated whether or not, on that occasion, if he should have been honest. I was like, if you'd have been honest then, you just scared that person away. I mean, they don't even know who you are. But if I had asked that to him, would he have said the same thing? Would he say? So I love that. I love that, being honest and authentic. That's hard.
It is. It's very hard.
That's hard.
Mhm.
That's hard. Tell me about the foundation that you started as from the past experiences that you had as a suicide loss survivor.
Yeah, in my grief and in my processing of my grief, like I said earlier, I wanted to do something with it. I didn't just want to sit with it. So also adding on to all of my other many things that I decided that I was going to take on, I founded the Sean Flynn Foundation. My cousin's name was Sean Flynn, and I founded it in order to bring awareness to the importance of concussion education. My cousin died by suicide as a result of several sports related concussions that
Mm.
we believe that he had CTE, which is something that a lot of people think that only NFL players or hockey players have,
T-
but that's not
Tell our
the
audience what that stands for.
that stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And there's a great movie by Will Smith. It's called Concussion. It's about what CTE is and how the doctor who Will Smith plays found out what CTE was. But in a sense, it's the your brain, our brains sit in like water. Like it's just floating in here. And when you have repeated trauma to your brain by traumatic brain injury, by concussion, it does things to our brain because our brain is an organ. And my cousin was a goalie, and after his last major concussion, when he was kneed in the face in goal, he was never the same after that. So I founded the Sean Flynn Foundation to also bring awareness to that because it's not talked about enough how concussions have a direct impact on mental health. So we talk about concussions, we talk about mental health, we talk about suicide prevention. But my favorite thing that we do with the Sean Flynn Foundation is we provide scholarship. My cousin was the funny guy. He was the class clown of his high school 2 years in a row. And I know that if there's anything Sean would want us to do, it's to continue to laugh. And so I founded a scholarship that's open to all high school juniors and seniors in the state of Pennsylvania. And it is a 300-word essay. Tell us a story from your life that will make us laugh. And we sit around and we read all these essays from all of these students from across Pennsylvania, and we laugh. So that's my favorite thing that we do. We're also giving back to the community, and we're really honoring who Sean was.
Mm. I see a book there. A book of stories of the recipients of that over
Mhm.
time, that can motivate and inspire and encourage people through their stories.
Yeah.
One of the other things that you said that really I found powerful as well is that you have a desire to empower young people to
Mhm.
be able to advocate for themselves from the doctor's office to the Oval Office.
Yeah.
That's a huge goal. Unpack that for us, because that got me excited when cause I wrote it down and I circled it and I put a bunch of stars behind it and some checks behind it. So when you said that, it moved me, and let's unpack that for the audience because that's powerful.
Well, thank you. I am a very big advocate for youth and specifically youth voice. It makes sense to the organization that I work for. That's called Youth Move National. Move stands for Motivating Others Through Voices of Experience. And the the organization was founded by a group of young people who did not feel like their voices were being heard within systems of care that served them, youth serving systems. So I have a really big passion to elevate the voices of young people within systems of care, within youth serving systems. And I have so many amazing opportunities through my work to really help in this mission. But the heart of my passion really comes from being a young person that I'm a disabled person. I went through the public school system, and my voice was not heard. And so I want young people who had similar experiences that I did. I want them to be able to feel empowered to speak up, to actually have their voices heard in equitable ways. And that if they want to just be heard within their doctor's office, then I want them to feel empowered to do so. If I want them to walk into the Oval Office and feel like their voices are going to be heard, I want them to do that too.
Mm. How are you doing this? How are you helping them to feel empowered to do this? What are some ways to do this? Because I'm hoping there's someone who's listening who's getting as excited as I did, and maybe they're catching a vision for what you're trying to do as well.
One of the things that we do is at Youth Move National is we offer a youth leadership training where we kind of teach young people the power that their lived experience has. One of our amazing participants in one of our leadership academies, she said that lived experience is like having a PhD in life. And and it's true. Lived experience is something that cannot be replicated within a classroom. So just really making sure that young people realize that the things that they experience has power, it holds weight, and that they deserve to be heard.
You're dropping some truth bombs all over the place today. This
Well,
is
thank
like one
you.
of the more hashtagable podcast episodes that we've had. I've taken 2 pages of notes already here, and I still want to ask more about this. You are also got some competitions coming up, if I remember correctly. Is that going on? Share with us as we're closing out our time together. Let the audience know what you got on this so they can be supporting you and cheering you on from the sidelines.
Yeah, well, thank you. I currently hold a local title within the Miss America opportunity. I am Miss Heart of Lancaster. I live here in the amazing Lancaster, Pennsylvania. If you don't know where that is, that's okay. We're in good old Amish country here. But I will be competing for the opportunity and the job of Miss Pennsylvania this upcoming June. And within this organization, you have to have a community service initiative, something that you're passionate about. And it shouldn't be any surprise to what we spoke to today. I am very passionate about youth and young adults. And so I get to serve not only my community here in Lancaster, but I get to go throughout Pennsylvania to advocate for youth and young adults. That I believe that there should be action with advocacy, because advocacy without action is just words to me. So really like pushing that within my community service work is really important. And so look out for me this June as I compete for Miss Pennsylvania.
Well, good luck for you on that. And I cannot think of a better platform, a better service to be able to share with your state, with the Keystone State, than this opportunity for helping youth to advocate for themselves, especially in the areas of mental health. You've given me a lot of insight tonight, and I've been doing this for working with youth, for over 30 years, and I still am learning stuff, and I learned so much tonight. And in case you guys are wondering, we're recording this at night. We have learned so much during our time together, especially about looking for signs of how they're looking different. Are
Yeah.
they outside their norm? That was powerful to me, Angie, and I really appreciate that. That spoke to me. So I hope the audience did this as well. So how can they connect with you? Where can they find you if they want to follow you or connect with Youth Move National? Where can they find this information at?
We are on Instagram. There is I don't know what I think it's our Instagram for my job. I think it is at Youth Move as far I think so. And then my personal Instagram is at No Shame in Brain Pain, which is kind of my tagline. And you can also, if you're interested in learning more about our amazing work that we do at Youth Move National, you can also find us at youthmovenational.org.
And listen, audience, you want to follow her. That's how we connected. Is the algorithms of Instagram brought you to my feed one day, and I was like, "Whoa, this is somebody I want to meet and want to talk to." And I am so glad. This is one of those times that I'm glad of the algorithms. A lot of times I get, these people don't. don't have the best interest of their users at heart. But this time I'm glad that they did this, because this was very well. And we'll put as much of the links to these social medias as we can, and to the websites and stuff in the show notes. So if you're listening to us, go to your favorite app and click on the show notes, and you'll find that there. You'll find the links there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you know what to do. Just look straight down, and you'll find it there. AmandaGrace, thank you so much for your time. This is really, it's such an amazingly big issue. It's such an important thing that people need to be aware of and not hide from. And you've given some very simple and practical ways that they can start their journey. And I love that they were a very good step one, looking for outside of the norm, and then the sandwiching. In pink clouding, that was the first time I'd heard that phrase before, and I really love the sharing of that. So thank you for the insights that you have taught me tonight, and our audience as well. So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And audience, thank you for being with us. Listen, if you've stuck with us for 35 minutes, you really liked what you were listening to or watching. So please like, share, and comment on this. And the most important of those three things is the share, because someone that you know needs to hear this message and they don't know about us. So share it with them. Look at the links. Get the information you need so that you can make a difference in someone's life. This episode may help save someone long term if you can just do that first step. So thank you again for being with us. Thank you, AmandaGrace. And we'll see everyone again very soon on the Generation Youth Podcast.